Well, I've been a follower all my life. I grew up in a Christian home, but I think, when I made my decision at an early age, I didn't understand what I was making a decision about until later in life. And so it becomes evident that God works in your life as time goes on. And of course, when I look at my marriage, when I met Sherry, I was 23 years old, and she had a strong faith. And that was a significant event in my life, obviously, but I gave all that meeting her and getting to love her through my relationship with Christ. I really look back at that, not necessarily when I was in the moment, but I look back at that, and that was such a significant point in my life. So I would just say that all the things that happened after that were certainly God inspired. And I can share a lot of that with people if they want to hear about it. But there's no doubt about it that that's why I became a Christian, is because the events or the way my life grew in a faith journey was because of the events that happened during those periods of time. Your faith grows as you get older. It just does. And I'm 67 now, and I just feel so much closer to God than I did when I was 25. There's no question that my mother was the first one involved to bring me to that faith journey. But Sherry was the most important person that influenced me, Sherry, my wife. And unfortunately, she has become ill. And I've had the opportunity after this experience of, placing her in a long-term care facility, of finding things that go back to when we were married and how she journaled throughout her life and the faith that she had. That was beyond my comprehension at the time, but today I so appreciate how she influenced my life through just reading journals that I did not know existed until she left for her long-term care journey. And she would pray for me in those journals. She'd write things down. She would pray for our sons and write things down about answers and the verses that meant so much to her during those years. And there were years where we didn't, we struggled in our marriage. I think most people do, but I didn't understand how severely those struggles affected her and how she relied on God when things were the hardest for us. And now, as I'm without her, I feel I can survive some of the things I'm going through alone because I know how she influenced my life. And God used her as an instrument in my life. There's no question in my mind today that that's what happened. Yeah, I think even though I struggled in some parts of our marriage, I think the fact that I have to deal with the rest of my life alone is becoming a challenge for me. It creates a new level of fear that I've never experienced before. And I do have those promises buried in my heart. For example, Joshua 1:9, don't be discouraged. Don't be dismayed. I'm your God. I will help you through this. Those kinds of verses are buried in my heart, but it doesn't always feel like God is standing beside me when I feel lonely or I feel like, what is the rest of my life going to look like? So those are challenges, but again, if I didn't have my faith, I would hate to know where I'd be facing those challenges. I do draw closer to God because of these challenges, and that does get me through this. And so I have a lot of confidence that life will still be good even though I'm without my wife, because God is near. I never did. I never had that experience. Even now I'm saying to myself, I don't blame God for the situation I'm in. That never even crossed my mind. So it's never been something I've contemplated. It's never been part of my thought process to walk away. Yeah, I think I'm just understanding how much he loves me. That love is pretty much, well, as humans, we'll never completely grasp it. But as I get older, I am finding more evidence, and I find that it just kind of appears out of nowhere, his love. Here's a good example. I was on a cruise with my children. My grandson and I, who was only 3.5 years old, went to the bathroom together. And when we got in the bathroom, he says to me, "Papa, why do you love me so much?" And then I answered him. But then afterwards, I thought about that question, and I said, I don't know that I really answered it well. And then I said to myself, I think this is something I need to explore with my relationship with God. Why does he love me so much? And in the past 2 weeks, I've been exploring that. And there's all kinds of reasons that I don't meditate on as to why he loves me so much. And one of the first things I ran into is because who he is. And that needs to be internalized. Not only it's because who he is, but I can have some of that and show love because of who I am to my grandson. And I think there's a wonderful, way to relate that question that he gave me to that relationship with God. It's just, those kinds of things just awesome, are just evident when they appear to me. That's God talking through my grandson. Well, I would say don't ignore the promptings that God has in your life. If somebody's talking to you about God and you go home and you're alone and you're experiencing some of those words that keep coming back to you on your conversations, don't ignore it. God is after you, and he's not going to stop coming after you. So keep looking for him. I mean, when you're younger, you're so busy that some of those times escape you. I know they did me. But if you're wondering and the spirit is stirred because you're thinking about this, don't ignore it, because he's after you. So that's another thing. I have become much more of an open book through this journey with my wife's illness, and I just enjoy sharing with people. And I'm looking for people to share with. In fact, at some point, I've never been a discipler, but I want to disciple people. I want to share some of my life with somebody else and be generous.